I'm sure you have a million stories, but can you share like one or two episodes or adventures that you really stand out for you, that you really, food that you got to eat or an adventure you got to go on, something like that?
Oh, well, the most traumatizing meal I ate was called Smiley.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Making It. My name is Kenan Cooley and I am with
Alvin Shea. Hey, everybody.
Alvin. So let me see. How much do you know about social media, the power of social media today and how it works in entertainment?
I respect it. I don't know all of its powers, but I know if you have somebody who can harness it and make it do what it do, you soar. There are people who have been in their bedrooms or in their living rooms or in their attics or in their garages and have become celebrities just from the power of social media.
It's astounding to me because it's astounding and I want to be just a little bit mad when you go get your master's degree in communications and you're like, wait a minute, I can just sit in my bedroom and just turn on a piece of equipment. Wait.
Right.
But no.
Yeah, exactly.
But the power of it is amazing. But I still say, you still have to have a skill set behind the power.
True,
so,
because it's marketing. It's marketing.
It is.
It's
a
marketing,
different type so you have to market something.
Yes.
Right.
Whatever your widget is, it is about marketing that.
And it's not just enough to have 1 million followers if you have nothing that can carry off stage.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've watched a YouTube this or YouTube that, and everybody like and subscribe. Subscribe. They're not just here for you to check out. They need something from you, some quid pro quo. So, social media is real. It's here.
It's here. And our next guest knows and has mastered it.
I love it.
He is great. He is a host for a show. And I'll let him talk about that show. And he also is a very well-known influencer, mostly on Instagram, but he does work across all of the social media platforms. And he's also a surfer.
I love it. A
Little bit of everything. So without further ado, let's introduce Nathan Fluellen.
Welcome, brother. Are we pronouncing that right?
Yes, you got it.
All right. People abuse my name all kind of different ways, so I'm always really sensitive to that.
Yes, all three of us actually. So Nathan, I was telling Alvin that you do a lot. So would you tell us a little bit about what you do in terms of media and then also about your social media influence?
Yes, so I have 2 TV shows on air. The first one is called Worldwide Nate African Adventures. It's an extreme adventure travel show, and I demystify travel to Africa and celebrate.
I love it. We're all things Africa here. We're all things Africa. So,
thank you. So I filmed 13.
But Al was actually African, right?
You said what?
Al was actually African.
Oh, nice.
My dad is Liberian, West African. In fact, he's upstairs now. So yeah, we got you back all the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely want to go to Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
One of the places I want to go. And we filmed 13 episodes in South Africa, Lesotho, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Rwanda, and Congo.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and you're a born African American?
Yeah, born in Chicago, born on the south side of Chicago.
That's amazing, though, that you have that strong of a connection with the motherland.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I watched Coming to America, and even though I knew it was a fiction, Zamunda was fictional, I knew that there would have to been some resemblance of Zamunda in real life.
Right.
So I've always been.
Wow. When did you start? When did you jump in and start doing it?
My first trip to my first trip to Africa, the continent, was South Africa in I think 2012 or 13.
Okay.
And every few years I've been traveling back. Before I filmed my show, my first country was South Africa. Then I went to Zanzibar, spent New Year's there, and Kenya, and then I filmed my show. And then recently I just came back and filmed another show in West Africa this spring. So I filmed in Senegal, Cameroon, and Ghana.
Man, that is amazing. So let me ask you this question. Okay, so I lived in Liberia for 3 years. My dad was Liberian. He was what my mom had me, and then she went over there. And like for the first 3 or 4 years, I lived in Liberia. But the first time I returned as an adult to Africa, we returned to South Africa. I got off the plane, my feet hit the ground, and it was like a lightning bolt that connected me to Earth, to that motherland.
Mm.
All of
Yeah.
a sudden, every fiber in me made sense.
Mm.
I wasn't the only dark-skinned kid that needed lotion. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? There were a bunch of people that looked like me, and the music I understood and the flavors was like I tasted this before. Did you have something like that? Was there anything like that that connected you?
Yes, it really hit me. I was in Zambia and just in between take shoots, and I was standing on the corner outside, and nobody paid me any attention. And I was
Right,
just watching, and I was like, wow, I'm just
Right.
another Black person in Africa.
right,
And
right,
it was
right.
nothing
No
special.
harassment. Yeah,
Yeah, and then just to be, just looked at and just not to stand out was very peaceful and relaxing and therapeutic. And I was just
yeah,
like, wow, I'm just a nobody here. And I
yeah.
love every moment
It's
of it.
beautiful
I,
anonymity.
I am looking forward to going, and that's what I mean. Alvin brought up a good point. I'm kind of feeling like that. Once I get there, part of me is going to feel like I'm home,
Yeah, it
because I
will.
do feel like I connect with a lot of the culture and things from Africa,
Right.
just unknowing to myself. But I think that once I get there, the food's going to feel like this is home. This feels
It
great,
will.
and I'm actually really looking forward to it.
And I'm sure Nate will testify to that. There is a pride that we grow up in America that we see the Italians talking about Rome,
Mm.
and we appreciate it, but we don't get it. And the Japanese talk about the Buddhist empires and all their ancient this, and the Norwegian talk about the Vikings and all that. We never have that. All of our stuff is,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, and we try to have our pride, but we don't have that deep, deep, deep generational stuff until you go back, and then it's like, oh, this is where I am. That's where I come from. So that's definitely
So
some.
Nate, why do you think it's so important that you highlight Africa? I mean, versus, and you could go anywhere. I mean, I know you travel different places actually, but why do you feel like Africa is so important?
Yeah, just to echo what Alvin said, it's just once you know where you came from, you know where you're going.
Right.
And just to have that connection and know that we're not just, weren't just dropped off here in the United States, and had that connection back to Africa is vital. And I took it a step further this year when I took my DNA test with African ancestry.
Right, I saw that.
That I'm Balimake, which is a tribe in Cameroon. And I actually got the
Wow.
results while I was in Cameroon.
Right.
Did a Zoom call, and so now when people, I'm like, oh, okay, I can say I'm Cameroonian.
You got to start working on your French
Other
now.
side. Yeah, yeah, I have been. I actually started learning French last year, so
Oh,
I've been.
good, man.
Oh, c'est très bien, monsieur.
So how did you get to the point where you were able to take your passion and the connection from the motherland and your skill and social media and learn how to monetize it? How do you put all those things together to make sure that you got something, that happens at the end of the month for you?
Well, it took years.
Okay.
My journey started at Tennessee State University.
Nashville.
My professor, Dr. Galen Hall, he wrote an autobiography where he documented his travels to over 80 countries, and he challenged me to see more countries than him and be an entrepreneur.
Great.
And when he did that, it clicked, because when I started traveling, I just wanted to document my experiences so I could share them with my peers and my classmates, and inspire them to come out, travel outside the normal destinations and see the world. And so when social media was coming out, I was like lock in step with what the purpose of Instagram was and YouTube. And so that was what I was already just driven to do just amongst my peers. And then now it's like opened up to where you can connect with people all around the world and document my journey. And so just the process of just not giving up, and then just new things coming online. I remember when Facebook was only allowed for college students, when you had a college email.
Right.
When YouTube came about. And so so I was just always, discovered this journey and this path as these opportunities, these vehicles came about for us to connect with the world. And then here we are, it's been about 18 years later. And,
Wow.
my desire when I first started traveling was to have my own TV show. And I always looked at YouTube as an opportunity to just practice, and get better and stay ready. So when opportunity came, I was ready to go. I didn't have to, have that, that fear or imposter syndrome as if I'm not ready.
Right.
It was like, oh, I'm ready to go, finally,
I'm getting my 10,000 hours in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But you brought up a good point, and it's very important what you kind of said, but didn't really make it the emphasis that you have to have an offline skill. You have to have something to talk about offline that you bring to the internet.
Right.
I think a lot of times now it's almost like this is going to get me famous here and get about 1 million hits, and then when you go offline to get paid, you should like a year in headlights sometimes because you don't have the experience and skill set. You did all of the work offline to be good online. That's what I feel. Yeah.
And I can imagine in your 18 years, you may have started with a partner or a group of people that maybe had that early passion, or that I should ask, did you start with a bunch of people or maybe another person that said, okay, let's do this, and over time it became just you and you kept going and kept going, or were you only the singular partner all along?
Yeah, for years I felt like I was on this island, and then around 2013, I went to a conference called. It was a travel blogger conference. I forget the name of it, but I met a whole bunch of other travel bloggers in Toronto. It was in Toronto, and I connected with a lot of people who just some people just wanted to be in the blogging space. Some people had aspirations to have TV shows, and so a lot of my colleagues that are my friends now. We've progressed and we've been able to get our shows greenlit, and now we have shows on TV and we continue to support each other. So it's a very small group of us, but it's awesome to see our journeys and see the success and the trajectory that we've all just catapulted to, and now we have these careers. And there's nothing else that we would do. We had these conversations or had conversations in the past. We'll call each other, and I'm like, and a friend to say, hey, you want to go to Russia? And I'm like, nah, I'm about to go to China, but thanks.
That's
or,
great.
you might say, I'll go. And then you call somebody like, hey, this opportunity came up, and it's like, yeah, I understand, no worries.
So what came first, the traveling and then the show and then the Instagram famous, or the other way around, or kind of at the same time?
Yeah, it was, I started traveling. I was working when I graduated, I was working these mobile marketing tour jobs. So they would be contract jobs from short as 4 weeks to as long as 3 months. And in my mind, that was my side hustle, even though I was paying my bills, but I was a travel influencer, a travel personality. So in between those trips, I would schedule it where I would make my money, save up as much money as I could. And then I would go travel the world and create webisodes, get content so I can create webisodes and work on my craft. And then I was just wash and repeat over the years until I got some traction and started working with ebony.com, started contributing to them and Men's Fitness, and then the Griot, and then they did some sponsorship deals with Ford and Lincoln Motors.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to work with some, like Ebony Magazine, which I grew up, coveting.
Absolutely. The big Ebony or the smaller Ebony?
The smaller.
Yeah. I'm back in the day. Sammy Davis.
Yeah, that was the regular 8x10.
Yeah. Wow. So when as you're charting your career and you're moving forward, if say you got an opportunity from CNN to be their new Anthony Bourdain, would you walk away from would you step back from your thing and promote their brand, or is it ownership and branding important for you to say, I'm going to do it under my thing, but I'll contribute to you?
That's a good question. I mean, if CNN comes calling, I definitely would, do a run with CNN because it's not forever. Right. And what it would do is open me up to a larger audience.
Sure.
And, do some, gain some market share from CNN and their platform, because it's going to be, there's a pie. So I'm going to naturally, siphon off some of their followers, and they could come, follow me on social media, et cetera.
Right.
And, that becomes successful, then, there's the opportunity for syndication and really, think about it on the business side, because it is show business. And then, then I can do things more creatively after that contract or run a show has ended.
Sure.
And, I can still do things with my brand.
Right.
Which is evergreen and will continue to live on for the long term.
Awesome.
I kind of heard you start talking about, and you could expound on it, being a producer, because you're a producer of your show as well, right?
Yes, that fortunately, I have been an executive producer on all three of my shows now, so that's been pretty
Nice.
exciting. And so now, that's what I know. So moving forward, I would walk into a room and be in the position of being a host and executive producer and retain ownership of the shows that I produce moving forward. So that's pretty exciting. It may not at the beginning or the front end, it may not be the most profitable, but at the long term,
the long game. We got you.
Yeah. We're always talking about residual, because at the end of the day, those are the people who win. I mean, the actors who do something real short, quick, they don't have any residual long term, they get paid that day and it's over. But when you're an executive producer, or you have that part of your contract that says, as long as this show is airing, I'm making some kind of money, in syndication or something. That is very important. I think that is where we need to really aim. And if you've noticed, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but a lot of actors and people of color in that space, celebrities, are starting to do that. They know the power of not just being an actor in front, but sitting in the back too.
Right. Even the music world is, for forever, I guess in the 70s, it was all about the artists. And then somewhere along the way, the 80s and 90s is like, oh, that's it. That's the producer, right? No, but that's the producer. Have you seen that's the producer? He gets such and such per track. People are starting to figure out that it is the man behind the glass or the woman behind the desk that is actually the one making the money. The talent's out there, So well, I wanted to ask you, Nate, how did you end up with, I thought it was 2 shows, but how did you feel that it was necessary to do 3? To relate what you're doing?
Well, the first show, that was came out of the pandemic. So I had started a podcast called Escape with Nate in Search of Black Utopia. And then we had like a follow-up. Me and my production partner had just a check-in call with the Africa channel, and we just updated them what we were doing. They're like, "Oh, we like that. That'd be cool if we could do a TV show format of it." And so we shot 4 episodes, and we had guests like Kelly Edwards, Rondell Holder, Anika Raymond, and Jimmy Jean-Louis. And so that that's on the Africa channel right now. So that podcast morphed into like a video podcast or a talk show format, which was cool to interview people and growing up watching Arsenio Hall and but now I have like a talk show to add to the repertoire,
right? And
then those things having that content out there led to this new project I'm doing with Wandrium, which is they've been around for about 30 years. They were called Great Courses, so they're more like education based.
Okay.
So the new show has some elements of adventure because I'm like fun and always on the move, but then there's a lot of like information being shared. So that's cool to have like more of the nerd, like angle, and then just really educating people.
Right.
Because what we always say is that we weren't taught this history or we don't know our history.
Right.
And that's true, is that a lot of Africa isn't documented or indexed on Google, especially if they speak a different language, like Cameroon and Senegal. A lot, English, French is the first language, official language, their native tongue. And so even when we were doing research, it was hard to find certain things, especially in Cameroon, because it just hasn't had a lot of American visitors that are taking interest in what's happening in Cameroon outside of the salacious, conflicts.
Right.
So now what I'm excited about Wandrium is that, the success of this show will lead to me going and hopefully visiting all 54 countries. And then my series can be an encyclopedia, a new age encyclopedia of Africa, to where people, Americans and the Western world people can get a higher education, perspective of these countries, as opposed to the war, poverty, and famine that's always pushed through the media.
Right.
Exactly. There is so much more to Africa. And I think that I love the fact that you are exposing it. So I actually want to know if you could share, I'm sure you have a million stories, but can you share like one or two episodes or adventures that you really stand out for you, that you really, food that you got to eat or an adventure you got to go on, something like that?
Oh, well, the most most traumatizing meal I ate was called Smiley. It was in Lesotho. So Lesotho is one of 3 countries or 4 countries that's located inside another country. So Lesotho is 3,000 meters above sea level within South Africa. And they had this delicacy. So Smiley is the equivalent to macaroni and cheese or collard greens, but it's a boiled goat's head.
Okay.
So they brought the head chopped off with the hair on it. I had to burn the hair off and then take a knife and scrape it off. And then
you were authentic.
Like,
oh gosh.
And then the guy, my cooking coach, she broke the jaw and she opened it up and she's like, see, it's smiling.
Oh, okay.
Put it in the pot with the seasoning and everything.
That's macabre.
I'm sorry I asked.
Yeah, and then so while it's cooking, we cut the cameras, and then I tell the crew, I'm like, I give them some money so they can go get like some chicken and some fish down the street, and they come bring it back, and I'm like, y'all can go ahead and eat. They were like, no, we waiting on the Smiley, and I was like, oh, this is real deal right here. This is like their version of soul food, and then I ate a piece of the jaw and then the eyeball. It was just like.
But did you know what it was? But she said, we're going to have Smiley, or you were kind of realizing as they were bringing it, like, oh, snap.
Well, we in pre-production, we were like, oh, what's an authentic dish? And they explained it Smiley. And I was like, oh, this is going to be unique. And then it hit me afterwards that I have to actually cook and eat this thing.
Right.
And I was like, oh, and it made for a great segment. But that's a dish I never try again.
Wait, so did you eat it on camera?
Yeah, I ate it on camera.
Oh gosh.
Were you smiling when you ate it?
I was terrible. I was calling for my mama in my mind. And I actually ate it twice because we had a dinner party in the last episode, and it was like a summary of all the dishes I made.
What about the craziest place you visited?
I mean, I couldn't say crazy. There's been some fascinating places like in the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. I hiked to the top of the Nyiragongo volcano, which has the world's largest lava lake. So it was a 6-hour hike up, and I forget the elevation, but we once we got to the top, the elevation was pretty high, air was thin, and then they had these permanent cabins. Well, we got to the top and we had dinner. So at the top of the volcano, and we spent the night in these permanent cabins, and then in the morning we ate breakfast. So as I was eating breakfast, I was drinking a cup of coffee while looking at the world's largest lava lake, and then hiked like 4 hours.
Wow.
That's cool. Some proposal spot.
Me and you more romantic than the Eiffel Tower.
That is amazing.
That's where you went with that? I'm just amazed at the thought of being in front of a lava lake. Was it hot? I mean, was it active or was it frozen?
It was in the crater. So I mean, but it's active. You can see like just the lava just colliding and these explosions.
Wow.
But it's the elevation is so high, it's cold up there. And then like I said, it's probably about, I mean, I would imagine that there was probably like 20 stories like below the crater, the rim where we were, probably like 20
would have to come up.
So it's pretty far away, but definitely close enough to where you can see like this is just lava coming from the middle of Earth, like all the way up from the middle of Earth up to the 20 or 30,000 feet in the air that we were in. And it was incredible. And so it's an active volcano. It had last exploded, I think, in 2010 or 12. But when it exploded out the side of it, so it doesn't geyser up through the top.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, but see, that's what I'm saying. There's so much more to Africa.
Yeah, Africa is so unique and different because there's even within the country, there's so many different tribes.
Sure.
Like South Africa, they have 11 official languages. Even Cameroon, I forget the exact number, but it's at least 30 different tribes. That's 30 different languages. And so, in Senegal, they have like 12 different ethnic tribes, but they majority of people speak Wolof. And then each country has a different language within itself. So it's just amazing,
rich,
how diverse and how many people. Because even when I'm in Africa, I'm just like, I'm texting my friends like, man, there's a lot of Black people here.
Right.
It's just
even for a Black person.
Yeah, it's like, man. I mean, it's just
Black people everywhere.
White people for days. It's just just Black people everywhere. It's so beautiful. It's just endless.
That is so
Yeah, and it's
amazing.
nice to be a place where you feel accepted just automatically, right? You don't feel
Mhm.
like your skin color or your hair or the way you think is really that wrong. It's because this is who I am. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of diverse, you are completely diverse. And one area that we haven't talked about is that you surf, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole surfing thing. You have a company, right, in regards to that.
Well, yeah, I have Kavada Swimwear. It's the first Black-owned surf performance swimwear line. And you know, we get wavy. As I say, the chocolate tide is rising. And on June 4th, I hosted a great day in the Stoke, and it was the largest gathering of Black surfers in history in Huntington
Wow.
Beach. And we had a all-Black surf competition, and surfers from the African diaspora participated from the Southern California to New York to Senegal, South Africa, and Jamaica. We had
Did you host this?
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. We had free surf lessons. So not only could you watch a Black surf competition, if you wanted to take a lesson, we had free surf lessons. And then we had beach yoga. Wellness is very important to me. So beach yoga was hosted by Walk Good LA. It's a nonprofit based in LA.
Heard of that.
Very great organization. It's a family that that runs it. Two a brother and sister and a cousin. And then we had a ceremony, an award ceremony that honored Black surfing pioneers, Tony Corley, who started the Black Surf Association. And that was presented to Kaita Johnson. It was actually sponsored by like Rolling Out Wave Blaze Award. And they, so Kaita founded Black Dot Surfers. It's at Black Dot Surfers on Instagram. And that's how I was, when I started surfing, I was able to discover like this whole community of Black people. So I always tell them if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't, this wouldn't have happened. And so it was a great day in the Stoke. We had about 500 people in attendance.
Wow.
We had this great group photo of like everybody that was in attendance or was there in that moment to be a part of the photo. And I named it a great day in the Stoke to mirror a great day in Harlem and a great day in hip hop. And then so now we have a great Stoke. So it's it's wanted to be part of the zeitgeist of important cultural events in Black history. And, this is a cultural event, and we're looking forward to next year.
And that world, to the opposite of your adventures through the motherland, I'm sure that you don't see that many brothers. So for you to be able to move and combine and blend those worlds, talk as diversity in and of your world in itself. So that's just amazing. Absolutely.
Well, to me, you also erased another belief system.
Right.
That we don't swim, we don't get in water, we don't do this, we don't do that.
Right.
Once again, here we are. We are not only do have a lot of great things in Africa, we also get on surfboards.
True.
I'm threatening to get on one, Alvin. So when I come to California, you're gonna come with me, right?
I will roll. I will roll film. This I gotta see.
I might be rolling off the board more than on.
Nate, I don't know when you sleep, brother. That is so amazing.
Right.
That is so amazing. What do you want to do next? What's perfect world? You control the atoms in the universe and the planets. What do you want to happen next?
Just continue to make more TV shows, on like a bigger network, the likes of a Discovery or the Travel Channel.
Right.
Like one of those, big networks, just to broaden my audience and just reach and touch more people. Because my whole mission is to change the narrative of how Black men are viewed and create another positive image for Black youth to aspire to. And it's about telling these stories and showing the beauty of our people, because we have to counter all the negative, imagery that's out there, that's put out there, by the system and, even by us ourselves. So we have to have a balance of storytelling and narratives, and that's the world will consume.
Well, educate us. So if somebody was like, man, I want to do it like Nate, and he has this amazing YouTube channel, he's got all of these shows, and I just saw he's about to go on Discovery Channel. Do you actively market? Do you have a manager? Are you working in the hopes that somebody will just discover your channel and bring you in? Do you actively going after it? What's your strategy?
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate enough to have, be in contact with, like different managers or networks that find me and reach out. So, you know, so that's been beneficial. So I'm in talks with, you know, some additional shows in the future.
Great.
But you know, I can't, you know, I don't rely just on waiting for people to come knock on my door. I do, you know, knock on doors. But right now, you know, thankfully my plate is is a little full, and so I have things in the process, you know, that I can't, you know, that I can't really share right now, but
I understand.
they will come to fruition. So I appreciate you asking, but you know, for other people, if they want to do, you know, what I'm doing or something similar, you know, you have to start. You know, you have to find your niche, you know, find what works for you. You know, it took me a while to like settle in on adventure travel and culture and food. And then now, you know, now surfing. So those are my narratives that I focus on. And everybody has a voice. Everybody has a voice.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to try to recreate what somebody else is doing. You just have to, like, you know, find your voice and make it interesting and palatable and entertaining. That's easier said than done, but you have to start to figure out like what's going to work and just keep chipping away at it. And if you're really passionate about it, you'll stick with it and make it happen.
Awesome.
Well, I say without a doubt, you are amazing and you're doing amazing things. So we are looking forward to much more in the future. So we appreciate your time and we appreciate all that you've done so far, and keep us in the loop, because I really do. I do like the idea of what you're doing. So I think there's a lot more to be done, and we hope for the best for you.
Absolutely. Nate, proud of you, my brother. Proud of you. Keep going. We're behind you. If you want to come back, absolutely. You just tell us when you're back from the motherland, or you want to do an episode.
When you're in the motherland.
We got you. Yeah, we got you.
All right. Sounds good.